My name is Carol Simmons. I am 50 years old, and I want to tell you about 5 days in May. My son came home on a Friday afternoon. I had not seen him in 4 months. He had not come home for spring break, had stayed at school for reasons he gave briefly over the phone, and which I had accepted briefly over the phone, in the way we had learned to communicate that year, adequately, efficiently, with the particular surface competence of two people who love each other and are managing, by unspoken agreement, to keep the conversations at a level that requires nothing too difficult from either of them. He came through the door at 3:15 with his duffel bag and the look of someone who's been carrying something heavy for a long time and has not yet decided whether to put it down. I looked at my son. He was thinner. Not a little thinner. Significantly thinner. The kind of thin that means something. The kind that sits in the face and the shoulders and the way clothes hang. He was 20 pounds lighter than he had been in January, possibly more. His face had a quality I did not have a word for immediately, and then found the word hollowed. Not sick, not injured. Hollowed, the way a person looks when they have been running on less than they need for long enough that the body has started finding it internally. He looked at me. He was waiting to see what I would do with what I was seeing. I did the calculation in under a second. The calculation that mothers do. The rapid assessment of what is needed right now versus what can come later. What will open a door versus what will close one. I looked at my son, 20 pounds lighter, 4 months older, standing in my hallway with a duffel bag and a look that was asking me something without words. Hungry? I said. His shoulders dropped approximately 1 inch. Yeah, he said. Good, I said. I made the pot roast. Let me tell you about Jake. Jake is 19. He was 18 for most of this story. 18 when he left in September, and 18 when he came home in May. He is the quieter of my 2 children. His sister Becca is 23, and constitutionally loud in the way some people are constitutionally loud, which she gets from her father. And Jake got something different from somewhere, a quality of interior depth that shows itself sideways rather than directly. He had been an easy child to raise, in the sense that he did not create problems. He did his schoolwork and had friends and participated in things, and was kind in the low-key, consistent way of a person for whom kindness is not a performance, but a default. He was not dramatic. He was not a person who announced his states, who said, I am struggling, or I need help, or something is wrong. He processed inward, the way some people do, and the processing was thorough and private, and when it was done, he emerged with conclusions, but not with the visible record of having arrived at them. I had known this about him for 19 years. I had not fully understood what it meant until May. He had left in September with the standard equipment of a college freshman. Too many books, too much bedding, a mini fridge he had assembled opinions about, the particular excitement and terror mixture of a kid who is smart and ready, and also genuinely standing at the edge of something enormous. The first month, the calls were regular and long. October, they shortened. November, they were brief and functional. How are you? Fine. How are classes? Good? Okay. Love you? Love you too. December, he came home for the holidays and was present but slightly distant, in the way I had noted and filed and told myself was normal, was the recalibration, was what 19-year-olds did when they had been away from home for the first time and were figuring out who they were outside of it. He went back in January, February, brief calls, March, briefer, spring break. He stayed at school. I accepted this out loud. I worried about it, inside, in the way of a mother who knows something is not right and does not yet know what it is, or whether approaching it will help or harm. He came home in May, 20 pounds lighter, pot roast on the stove. I did not ask what happened. I want to say this clearly because it was a choice. A deliberate, considered choice made in the hallway in under a second and held to for the first 2 days. I did not ask what happened because I knew, from 19 years of knowing Jake, that asking directly would produce one of two things, either a brief deflection or a door closing. What I needed was neither of those. What I needed was to give him the thing he'd come home for and let it do its work. The thing he had come home for was the house, the food, the smell of the pot roast, the specific quality of the light in our kitchen in the afternoon, the dog, Biscuit, who is 7 years old and greets every family member's return, as if the return has been unexpected and the joy is therefore unrestricted. His room, which I had not changed, his things, which were where he had left them, home. He had come home because whatever had happened in the 4 months since January needed the counterweight of home, and home was here, and I was going to be the best possible version of it for as long as he needed. Friday, pot roast. He ate 2 full plates, the way he used to eat when he was 15 and growing, the focused consumption of a body that has been underfed and knows it. He talked a little, Becca had called, Biscuit needed a walk. The drive had been long, surface things. I received them fully, responded to the surface level, let the deeper water alone. After dinner, he went to his room. I washed the dishes. I allowed myself, at the kitchen sink, approximately 90 seconds of the fear, the specific parental fear that is not about the current moment, but about all possible futures. The fear that runs the scenarios. I gave it 90 seconds, and then I put it back. Not now. Not yet. Saturday, I made his breakfast, the full breakfast, eggs, bacon, the toast with the good bread, the orange juice from oranges, not from a carton. He came down at 9 and sat at the kitchen table and ate with the same focused hunger as the night before. And there was something in the eating that I recognized as information. The body telling me things the mouth was not yet ready to say. He helped me in the garden in the afternoon. Not because I asked. He came out and found me there and picked up the second pair of gloves and started on the section next to mine. And we worked in the way we have always worked well together, in parallel, without needing to fill the space. Tomatoes are going in late this year, he said. Too wet in April, I said. They'll catch up, he said. They always do, I said. We kept working. Sunday, I made the Sunday sauce, the one that takes 4 hours, the one my mother made and her mother before her, the one that fills the whole house with a smell that is the smell of every Sunday of my childhood, compressed into a single olfactory sentence. I made it because it was Sunday, and I make it on Sundays, not because of any calculation, but I will not pretend I was unaware of what it would do to a person who was hungry in ways that went beyond food. He appeared in the kitchen at noon, drawn by the smell. He stood in the doorway. He looked at me at the stove. He said, "Mom." Not a question, not a statement, just the word and the voice he uses when something is close to the surface. "I know," I said, without turning around. A long silence. "You don't know," he said. "Not the specifics," I said, "but I know there are specifics." Another silence. "I'll tell you," he said. Not yet." "Whenever," I said. "You're not going to push," he said. "I made Sunday sauce," I said. "I'm not pushing anything." I heard him exhale, the long specific exhale of someone releasing something. "Okay," he said. "Set the table," I said. He set the table. He told me on Monday. Not all at once. It came out in pieces over the course of a long afternoon. Him on the couch and me in the chair across from him. Biscuit between us serving as the emotional pressure valve that dogs serve as in these conversations. The warm, neutral presence that makes it easier to say hard things. The first semester had been good. He had found his footing, made friends, done well in his classes. This part I had known or suspected. Second semester, something had happened. A friendship that had collapsed badly. The specific pain of a close friendship that ends with betrayal. The kind that at 19 feels like the floor giving way, because at 19 you have not yet built enough floor to know that it can be rebuilt. He had not told me because he had not wanted to. Had not wanted to worry me. Had not known how to explain it. Had not been ready to make it real by saying it out loud. He had stopped eating properly, not deliberately. It is never quite deliberate, the way eating fails when the rest of the infrastructure fails. He had stopped making himself meals, had stopped wanting to sit in the dining hall, had stopped having the energy for the logistics of feeding yourself when the energy is going elsewhere. He told me this in the careful way he tells things, methodically, without drama, with the clinical quality of someone reporting on events from a slight distance. But I know Jake, and underneath the clinical quality, I could hear the 19-year-old who had been alone in a dorm room in February, eating nothing and talking to no one, and not calling home. Because calling home would mean admitting that the floor had given way. I listened. I did not say, "Why didn't you call me?" I did not say, "You should have told me." I did not say anything that would make him regret having said the things he was saying, because the things he was saying had taken 4 months of incubation, and I was not going to do anything that made the next 4 months longer. When he finished, I was quiet for a moment. Then I said, "Thank you for telling me." He looked at me. "That's it?" he said. "What were you expecting?" I said. "I don't know," he said. "More." "There's more," I said. "But the more can wait. Right now, I just needed to hear it." Biscuit put his head on Jake's knee. Jake put his hand on Biscuit's head. "I should have called," he said. "Yes," I said, simply. Not as a wound, as a fact, acknowledged and filed. You should have. And next time you will. And we don't need to spend the next hour on the should have. He looked at me. "How are you not?" he started. "I'm a lot of things," I said. "I'm going to be a lot of things about this for a while, but not right now. Right now, you just told me something hard, and I'm here, and that's what right now is." He looked at his hands. "I lost 22 pounds, he said. "I know," I said. "You knew when I walked in," he said. "Yes," I said. "And you made pot roast," he said. "I made pot roast," I said. He was quiet for a moment. "Mom," he said. "Yeah," I said. "How did you know not to ask right away?" he said. I looked at my son. "Because I know you," I said. "You needed the house first. You needed to eat and sleep and be here. And then you could talk. How long did you know you'd wait?" he said. "However long it took," I said. He looked at me for a long moment. "I should have called," he said again. "Next time," I said. "Next time," he said. Tuesday I made his favorite breakfast again. He came down at 8 this time instead of 9. The sleeping had found its level, the body reorganizing around being fed and warm and home. He helped me with the garden again. At lunch he said, "Can I ask you something?" "Always," I said. "Was there ever a time when you..." He stopped. When things got to be too much and you just went quiet and didn't tell anyone? I looked at him. I thought about his grandmother, about the year his father and I almost divorced, before we didn't, about a winter 12 years ago when I had been carrying something I had not told anyone about for 3 months before I told my sister. "Yes," I said. "What did you do?" he said. "I eventually talked to your aunt," I said, "after 3 months of not talking to anyone." 3 months, he said. "I know," I said. "It's genetic, apparently." He almost laughed. "What did she do?" he said. "She drove over," I said, "and made coffee, and listened." He was quiet. "That's it?" he said. "That was everything," I said. He looked at the garden, at the tomatoes we had planted together, the late ones that would catch up. "I'm going to call next time," he said, "before 3 months. I'll answer," I said, "every time, no matter what." "I know," he said. Then quietly, "I knew that when I was in the dorm room, and I still didn't call. That's the part I don't understand about myself." I looked at my son. "That's the part you work on," I said. "That's not a flaw. That's a thing you learn. I'm 50, and I'm still learning it." He nodded slowly. "We're the same," he said. "We are," I said. "Which is why I knew to make the pot roast and not ask questions." "Because that's what you would have needed," he said. "That's what I would have needed," I said. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you for coming home," I said. Wednesday, I did not make anything special. I made the ordinary weeknight dinner, chicken and rice, the simple version, the dinner of a Tuesday or a Wednesday in the regular run of our lives. Nothing significant. Nothing with 4 hours of preparation. Just dinner. He came to the table and sat down, and we ate and talked about ordinary things. Becca's job, the neighbor's new dog, a show we had both been watching on different coasts, the ordinary conversation of a family eating dinner, the texture of the regular. Halfway through dinner, he looked up. "This is exactly what I needed," he said. "Not about the chicken, about all of it." I knew from the way he said it, the way he was looking at the table and the kitchen and me. Not just the food, all of it. I just needed this. "Home," I said. "Home," he said. We finished dinner. He did the dishes, without being asked automatically, the way he's done the dishes since he was 12, and decided that was his contribution. I sat at the kitchen table with my coffee, and I watched him at the sink. And I thought about the year, the September optimism, and the February silence, and the May Friday when he came through the door 20 pounds lighter. And I made a calculation in under a second and said, "Hungry?" I thought, I did not get everything right this year. I did not know he was struggling. I did not push hard enough when the calls got shorter. I did not find the way through. And also, he came home. When the floor gave way, he came home. To the pot roast and the Sunday sauce and the garden and biscuit and the kitchen table and me. He came home. That meant something had held. Something I had built. Over 19 years of ordinary Wednesdays and Sunday sauces and being there, had held well enough that when he needed the thing, it was the first place he thought of. That is what I had. That was enough. That was everything. He went back to school on Friday. He had gained 3 pounds in 5 days. I know because he told me, not because I checked, because he had started monitoring it himself with the careful attention of someone who has understood something about himself and is taking it seriously. He had made an appointment with the campus counseling center for the following week. He had texted 2 friends. Real texts. The reaching out kind, not the maintenance kind. He had called his aunt, who had answered on the second ring. I walked him to his car. He put his bag in and turned around. He hugged me. The same hug as August. Him taller, me under his chin, the whole 19 years in it. I'll call, he said. I know, I said. More than I did, he said. I'll answer every time, I said. He pulled back, looked at me. The pot roast, he said. First thing when I walked in. How did you know? I didn't know what you needed, I said. I knew you were hungry. He looked at me for a moment. You knew more than that, he said. A little more, I said. He nodded. I'm going to be okay, he said. I know you are, I said. You're not just saying it, he said. I'm not just saying it, I said. I know you. You came home when you needed to. That's the thing. That's the whole thing. He got in the car. He rolled down the window. Next time I'll call before it gets that far, he said. Next time I'll call you, I said, when the calls get short. He looked at me through the window. Deal, he said. I watched him drive away. I stood in the driveway until the car was gone. Then I went inside. The house had the shape of him again. The couch where he had sat on Monday, the garden with the late tomatoes, the dishes in the drying rack from last night, the evidence of 5 days. I made coffee. I sat at the kitchen table. I thought about the calculation in the hallway, hungry, and the 90 seconds of fear at the sink and the pot roast and the Sunday sauce and the 4 hours and all of it, the whole 5 days and the whole 19 years. I thought, I do not know how to do all of it. I thought, I know how to do enough. The tomatoes will catch up. They always do. Subscribe to Tender Heart Stories. Tell me in the comments, has someone come home to you when they were struggling and didn't know how to say it? See you next time.